need a Chromebook. You just need a writing utensil and your paper. Okay, let's try this again.
Technical difficulty on my end. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Okay. There's a place for your name at the top too. Okay. So today we are going to introduce abolition reform as one of our new reform movements. All right. So you have space for bell work on your notes. But our question is, who do you know that fought for equality for African Americans, and what contributions did they make towards this equality? So think of the people that you know about, and write that down. Doesn't have to be too wordy. I just wanted to give you as much space as possible. And then we will talk once you have an idea. And I'll come around and see what's happening. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like an old person. It could be someone you know. It could be modern. It could be with the civil rights movement. So yeah. Any more questions? Either or, whatever you want to do. It can be one person or it can be a big group. Does that help? And if you don't know one, that's okay, because we're going to learn about 3 of them today. I'm going to give you guys another, like, 30 seconds. Alright, does anyone want to share out who they wrote about? Yeah? Martin Luther King Jr. What did you say he did?
His I Have a Dream speech massively helped with the equality.
Yes, that's a great one. Anyone else? Or if you wrote Martin Luther King, did you write something different? Yeah?
I was trying to put Rosa Parks, but I couldn't think of anything except for Fun 16. When she had to give her seat for a white man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bus boycott was very big, so that was going, yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Anybody else? That's a really good place to start. Yeah. So, abolition. The definition of abolition is the action or an act of abolishing a system, practice, or institution. But when we talk about abolition in the United States, we talk about the abolition of slavery, which is ending it. And this reform movement started in the 1700s, and its goal was to end the practice of slavery in the United States, specifically in the southern part of the United States. This movement was an organized effort that was made by abolitionists, which are people fighting to end slavery, and it gained a lot of traction throughout the country, mostly in the North, and this led to the Civil War between the North and the South. Does anyone have any questions about that? Yeah, the blanks are what is on here. This top definition's not on there. But yeah, you fill in your blanks where the word is missing, or a couple words, whatever it is. Yeah?
Now that I think, now that I got like the better definition, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, he was a huge figure for abolition. That was a great one. Right, and once you have your blanks filled in, could you give me a thumbs up?
Sorry, guys. Oh my gosh.
And some of these people up here we're going to talk about, and these are some famous abolitionists from this era. Are we ready?
Yes.
Alright, so these are our key abolitionist figures that we're going to be talking about today, sir. So this is Frederick Douglass, this is Harriet Tubman, and then this is Sojourner Truth. And all three of them intersect with different reform movements. Okay, so the first one, we have Frederick Douglass. He was born in 1818, and then he died in 1895. And all three of them were born into slavery, and escaped. Bless you. Thank you. So he was born into slavery in Maryland and escaped in 1838. He became a powerful writer and speaker, and he specifically talked about abolition, and he advocated for equality. Yes?
Can we only choose 3 out of the box?
Yeah, so there's 5 on each, but you can pick 3. Yeah. Just a little fast. And you don't have to write it word for word, you can summarize it if you want. he was a published author. He wrote autobiographies, which is a self-biography of his life. And he wrote about slavery and abolition. And he had a couple abolitionist newspapers, but there was one that was called the North Star that was pretty popular, where he would put out information about abolition to gain more traction with it. He advised President Lincoln on the emancipation of slaves, which is the freeing of slaves, and to let them enlist in the Union Army to fight in the Civil War. He also was for arming freed slaves to help fight. He also championed women's suffrage, which is that intersectional idea where it's just the crossing of different reforms and women's equality. He did a lot of that work after the Civil War. Some people consider him the most famous abolitionist. He's a very big figure in this period of time. And this is a picture of him. He was kind of like middle-aged here. Do you have any questions about Frederick Douglass? Our next person is Harriet Tubman. So she was born in 1822. She lived till 1913. Here's her right here. This is a pretty famous picture of her. She was also born into slavery in Maryland, but she escaped to the north. And then she returned to the south to get her family and friends out. Through the Underground Railroad. Do people know what the Underground Railroad is? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. Beautiful. Yeah, she is like the biggest figure of the Underground Railroad. They called her Moses because she led slaves to freedom like Moses did. That was one of her nicknames. But the Underground Railroad is a connected network of safe houses and secret routes to get slaves to the north where they could be free. They would get them above the southern states to the north, or some of them would even go higher into Canada. And she did 13 expeditions. So she went from the north to the south 13 times. And she freed around 70 slaves, and she said that she never lost a single one of them. You think about how scary that is, going back into the South 13 times. She's very brave. And she also freed around 700 to 800 slaves during the Civil War and the Combahee River Raid in 1863, which she led that raid. Was like the commander of it. She had a huge involvement in the Civil War. She was a spy for the Union and a scout, and she was a nurse. She was also a cook, which I didn't write here, but she did lots of work for the Union in the Civil War. And she also intersected into women's suffrage and their right to vote. Do you have any questions about Harriet? I'm sure some of them did. There were lots of abolitionists and people that were in the Underground Railroad connected in the safe houses and the secret routes, to get there. I know, I'm not sure like every single one of them did, but that was her first mission, was to get her family and friends out. I think when she did that, most of them probably stayed up north. Yeah, good question. Did everybody get their 3 things? This is Sojourner Truth. We do not know the exact year she was born. They're say from 97 to 1800, but I put 1797 because that's what most of my research said. Because they didn't have exact birth certificates and stuff like that. But that is not her given name. She chose that name to take back her power. But she was born into slavery in New York, but she escaped with her infant daughter in 1826. And she was the first black woman to win